You're next up, Joe. You're next up.
All right, guys, thanks for waiting. Fight of the night was Leonard Garcia. Knockout of the night is Frankie Edgar. And submission of the night is Joe Lauzon. All those guys won $75,000 each. The attendance tonight was a sellout of 16,164. We did a gate of 2.23 million. We're the number one gate ever in the history of this arena. And then tonight, I think we came in at number 4. So we're number 1 and number 4 here at this arena. It's just one thing they wanted me to tell you guys. On Wednesday, we'll be hosting a UFC 140 press conference in Toronto with Jones and Whtie at the Air Canada Centre at 1 o'clock. And tickets go on sale for that event next Saturday. Who are we missing? Edgar and Aldo. Thank you. Needed that. He's still doing medicals, so they'll get here when they're done. Cool? I just didn't want to keep you guys waiting forever. Who's first? Kev?
Question, I guess, for Chael first. Chael, congratulations. If you can talk a little bit about the significance of the victory you had, to get yourself a big win over a ranked contender after the long period of time you had off, and your comments in the ring about retiring if you lose against Anderson Silva.
Well, Kevin, a long time off? Man, that was nothing. That was just the stuff I got caught for. Listen, it was a big relief, man. It was a big fight. As far as Anderson goes, we're playing for keeps this time. I've had it with this guy, and he's probably had it with me, so let's just figure this thing out once and for all. You heard what I said, and my word is good, and I meant it. A deal's a deal, and I didn't see him stand up and accept the challenge. The roll would have been on the other foot. I'd have come over that roll and shoved that microphone up his ass if he would have said that to me, but you saw what he did. He sat there, and it was a good move.
Nathan, two questions. Can you respond to that, please?
What do you say to that?
And then Super Bowl Saturday, is that a possibility?
I don't know. You know, it sounds like a great idea. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Would it be the biggest rematch in the history?
It'd be pretty big. I think it would. I think people want to see that fight. Yeah. And he looked great tonight. I mean, Chael's been off for a while, and he came back tonight against Stan, who was, every time this guy fights, gets better and better. He's looked great in his last few fights. And Chael went out and dominated and finished tonight. He looked good.
Kenny, following the fight, there was rumors on Twitter that this could be your last fight. Do you know what's next for you in your career?
No, not right now. I haven't really, thought really past this fight. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Do you know? Have you thought and looked back and seen what you may have not executed, or have executed? If you look back at the fight, do you know where you made a mistake?
Yeah, of course. I wasn't able to. I think against a guy like Aldo or against the elite, you got to mix it up better, and I wasn't successful on the wrestling end of it. I think that was the difference, and made some mistakes out there. Simple as that.
Hi, over here. Dana, how much does Chael's trash talking affect your decision to choose him as an opponent for Anderson Silva?
I don't know if it affects my decision to choose him to fight Anderson. I think that some of the stuff he said has got Anderson pretty fired up and wanting to do this fight. You could go out there and you could debate over whether if Dan Henderson beat Shogun or da-da-da-da-da, but I think that people and Anderson probably want this Chael Sonnen fight.
Hi, Junior Grace Magazine. The question for Chael Sonnen. Congratulations for your victory, my friend. I talked to you 1 year ago, and you told me Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is good for the kids, and you told me you don't like BJJ. But tonight you took the guy with your arm triangle. Are you training with the kids?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I said any of those things, but yeah, not only do I train with kids, I coach kids. And look, I don't overlook anything. I'm not delusional, and I understand there's a lot of great skills all over the place, and I'm interested in taking them all in.
He says so much shit he can't keep track of it. Might have said that, I don't know.
Aldo, queria saber um pouco da sua luta. Você tinha comentado que esperava uma luta explosiva e não foi bem o que a gente viu. Você até comentou, mas para uma próxima, você acha que você vai ter que dar um show maior ou ser um pouco mais intenso?
The question was early before the fight, he said that he was going to come out here and prove up to everyone that he could end the fight before the 5th round. Do you feel that you still need to do that? What are your thoughts on the fight?
Acertei bom golpe no Kenny. O Kenny é um lutador muito experiente. Se eu fosse muito para cima, com certeza o meu jogo não ia encaixar com o dele. Então eu esperei sempre o momento certo. Eu acho que se eu fosse para cima, muito aberto, com certeza o Kenny poderia me vencer. Então eu mantive a calma ali, todo mundo mandando eu esperar um pouco mais para sempre ir na boa.
I had to pace it a little bit in this fight. I knew if I was too explosive that Kenny could end up beating me. So I had to really pace. I couldn't be as explosive as I wanted to in the fight. And everybody was kind of telling me to hold back. So I just kept it cool and studied the fight.
Joe?
Dana, this UFC 136 pay-per-view event may go down as one of the, I mean, I can't remember another card that was exciting from top to bottom all the way through. I was just wondering if you can go right across the stage there and just talk about each bout from main event, co-main event, and all the way down.
Yeah, it was awesome. Most of them have already spoke for themselves. I mean, these guys won fight of the night. We got submission of the night over here. He was a 3-1 underdog. It was tough to pick between Lauzon and Chael, and I gave it to Joe because he was such a huge underdog in the way he went in there and actually rocked him with a punch and then pulled off the submission. Chael Sonnen's fight, again, incredible. Jose Aldo and Kenny Florian. Kenny Florian came in there tonight going after it. He wanted that belt. Everybody's talked about how dominant Jose is, and Kenny went out tonight and took him the distance. He fought a great fight. And then Frankie Edgar. It's funny because when I grew up a boxing fan and watching Rocky movies, I love Rocky. But even when you watch Rocky, you're like, that's such bullshit. Nobody would take that many punches and be able to come back and actually win a fight. It could never happen. Yeah, well, he proved it. He reminds me, he's like the Arturo Gatti of MMA. I mean, that's really what this kid is. I have so much respect for him, and I'm going to say it here tonight, and I don't care who disagrees. You're wrong, and I'm right. He's the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, period. The only thing that keeps him from being number 1 is that Anderson Silva has not been beaten in the UFC since 2006, and most of the time he's been the champion. It's the only thing that keeps Frankie Edgar from being the number 1 pound for pound. If you really look at what pound for pound means, you cannot deny that Frankie Edgar is number 2. The guy weighs 145 pounds. He's beating people at 155 pounds. Tonight he beat a guy, again, who had him out of it. I mean, he was done in the first round, and a guy who many people believed had his number, he knocked him out tonight. I'm telling you, man, I've never seen any shit like that in my life. This is I think it's the first time. I mean, you guys think back to my relationship with Chuck Liddell and how emotional we were in building this company and everything else. I love Gray Maynard. He's a great guy. I have nothing. When Frankie Edgar won that fight, I literally jumped out of my seat and was like jumping up and down. It's what he did tonight was amazing, and he's the number 2 pound for pound fighter in the world. I don't give a shit what anybody else says. It's the truth. Next question.
Dana.
Oh, Kevin's ready. Oh, who just said it? Yeah, you got the mic. Go ahead. I'll get Kevin next. Who said it? Over there. Sorry.
Hey, Dana, can you talk a little bit about Houston as a host city and the success of the Fan Expo?
Yeah, it was incredible. The experience here, both times that we've come here, has been amazing. The crowd, the fans, the expo was a huge success. The expo was an incredible success. And it's one of those weekends, like when we have these fan expos, these people come in I met people from all over the world that came in for this thing, and we do the best we can. We're not perfect. We do the best we can. Everyone is a work in progress. We try to get better and better when we put them on, but it seems like it was a great experience for everybody, and I love this town. It was awesome. And to be number 1 and number 4 in the record, I love stuff like that too. So, Kevin.
Yeah, so my question would be about Frankie, and he seems to have good tight boxing, moves his head pretty well and everything, but then in every fight he has, it seems like he takes that one big shot. Do you any idea why it is that a guy that seems to have such good boxing is vulnerable every now and then?
Well, that's the other thing too. I think he's the best boxer in the UFC. I mean, this kid boxes like a boxer. He moves well. He moves his head. And he takes that one big shot. because the guy weighs 145 pounds and he's fighting. Did you see the size difference between those two tonight? I mean, I've been telling Frankie Edgar for a long time, I think you should fight at 45. Not his dad, I'm not his trainer, you know. That's his decision. He's a grown man, he knows what he's doing, but you know, he's a phenomenal athlete. He's got a huge heart, an incredible chin, and you know, what he pulled off tonight was amazing.
Would you give him a chance if he said, I wanted to fight Jose Aldo for that title, and then decide which one he wanted to keep it, assuming he would win it?
Well, no. If he decided he wanted to fight Aldo, he'd have to move down to 45.
Right.
Give up his 55-pound belt. Yeah. You know, he's the champ. I mean, he's the champ at 55. He had the three crazy fights with Gray and pulled it out tonight, and, you know, he's the champion. If he decided to move down to 45, he'd vacate the belt.
For Joe, please. Joe, you know, in the build-up to this fight, you mentioned that you thought Melvin was getting a little bit cocky in some of the things he said. Can you talk about how you felt once you were in there, and if maybe that cockiness kind of led to what happened in there?
Yeah, you know, I think that I mean, he was at the expo today. Like, I was back in the hotel room taking it easy, relaxing, because I knew I had to attend to business tonight. You know, I definitely think he was overlooking the whole entire thing. He was definitely looking past me, you know, but I like being in that position. You know, I hope everyone overlooks me like that.
And obviously we talked about the number of bonuses that you've had leading in, but can you talk about, you know, where this moment ranks among, you know, all those moments?
I think Boston, fighting in Boston in front of, you know, my hometown crowd, and the fight that I was able to put on really is number one, but this is number two. It's right behind it.
Thanks, Joe. And if I could talk to Leonard, please. Leonard, it seems like every time you're coming into a fight, you say it's going to be technical, you know, you're going to tighten things up a little bit, and it ends up being a brawl. Can you talk about maybe, you know, what your plan was coming in and how things played out?
Yeah, I wanted to fight on the outside. He caught me in the very first round, like when he dropped me, he caught me right behind my ear. And I stood up from that, and one leg felt like 6 inches longer than the other for like a round and a half, man. I couldn't find my stride. I couldn't get moving, so I just started throwing down. You know, it's kind of the way it is. And then in the third round, I caught my stride, started throwing combinations, started feeling good. And then I was able to catch him and wasn't able to finish. I'd trade fight of the night for a win tonight, man. I really wanted to beat him, but, you know, it always sets up. Who knows? There might be a number 3, you know. I want to quit having these rivalries. I want to start finishing guys, trying to get more technical. You know, I just got caught early on, and the only way I know how to answer to that is by fighting hard. And, I mean, you know, I'd rather show you guys that than to just give up, you know.
And,
that was it.
And if I could get Dana to comment on that, I mean, a guy like Leonard who doesn't have the best record over his fights, but it just seems like it's a war every time he comes in. You know, how do you evaluate a guy like that, and how long can a guy stay in the organization with great fights but not getting wins?
You know, that's what I put the most value on. I value guys that come in and actually fight. You know, yes, you got to win and you have to have so many wins, but guys who come and bring it, we respect and we like, and it's pretty hard to leave. Yeah, you know, I don't make those decisions right now. You guys love to ask me those questions at the press conference. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, after that fight, seriously, I want everybody to raise their hands and wants me to kick Leonard Garcia out of the UFC after tonight. Yeah, thank you. Next question.
Yeah, my question's for Gray. Do you think you made a mistake by not coming out and trying to finish up the fight in the second round?
I mean, you know, you got to be smart. He's a tough kid again, and he survived that first round. Man, what the fuck? Plays the possum, I think, or something. I don't know. But again, he's a tough kid. I was trying to pick a shot. You know, he moves. He does a good job with that. You know, I kind of tried to load up a little bit instead of flowing. You know, hindsight's always 20/20, and I feel like, you know, I'm still trying to learn. I still have a lot to do, a lot to grow on. I mean, you know, maybe, yeah. I should have finished in a second. I don't know.
And earlier right now, Dana White said that Frankie is the number 2 pound per pound. Do you think that he deserves and earns the respect as the champion?
Excuse me?
Earlier I said that I think he's the number 2 pound for pound fighter in the world, and he's saying, do you think that he deserves that recognition?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's done a great job, man. He's a tough kid to beat. You know, it's almost he's a tough kid to beat. You know, I think him, Anderson, and John Jones and GSP. I mean, they're all up there.
I have a question, a couple questions for Kenny.
Where's the mic? Can we get a mic over here so everybody can hear it? Oh, we got it back there. I jumped the line. I'm sorry. I'll get you next back there.
Sorry.
Right here. Right, there you go.
Thank you. Kenny, I have a couple questions for you. Do you feel like that that your pace slowed? Your pace did seem to slow to us, anyways, in the third and fourth round. Was your conditioning at all affected for this fight?
No, not at all. You know, I think I think probably my lack of getting my timing or whatever, you know, the way it unfolded. But no, I didn't feel tired or anything like that.
Having fought Aldo, who's the best, obviously, at 45, and the top guys at 55 as well, how do you, in your mind, do you feel like that Aldo would bump up to 55? How would he fare against the strength and things like that? I mean, you felt both sides of the equation.
I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, look at what Frankie Edgar's doing. You know, it all depends on how he adjusts. Obviously, he's a phenomenal fighter. So, I mean, kid is a great fighter. He's proved at 45, and there's no reason why he wouldn't be able to do well at 55.
And lastly, for Gray, was there any injury to your hand at all in the first round? I saw you shake it out a little bit. Was everything all right with you there?
No, he has a hard head, I think. I don't know. Fuck. I hit him a bunch, and he's just a tough kid. But no injury, no.
Question for Kenny Florian. Back here, Kenny. Second fight as a featherweight. Do you feel that this is the weight division you want to stay in?
I'm not sure. You know, again, we'll see.
A quick follow-up. Emotionally, what are you feeling right now, you know, to come into another title fight and just come up a little short?
Well, you know, obviously I'm disappointed. I fought very hard, trained extremely hard, and wasn't successful. You know, that's it.
Yeah, I have a question for Dana. Over here, Dana. The biggest stage in American sports is right up the highway in Dallas, Cowboy Stadium. Do you think that would be a great candidate for the biggest rematch in MMA history in Silva versus Sonnen 2?
Yeah, if we did do it around Super Bowl time, it would be in Vegas. You know, we do all our Super Bowl fights in Vegas, but we've been talking to Jerry Jones for a while about doing a fight there. You know, we just got to be the right fight, and we're definitely going there. Just a matter of when.
Question for Chael. Back here. I wanted to know what you thought of your performance tonight against Sonnen. Did you feel like he tested you at all? It seemed like you got through that fight just how you won.
You know, I never know what happens in those matches. I always got to go back and watch them. I can tell you he was really strong. He hit me in the body one time, and it really hurt. He's a tough guy. I don't really know how that ended. I know I got an arm triangle, and I believe we're in the second round or the end of the first. But I got to go back and watch it.
I have a question for Jose. Jose, do you feel like you're at any disadvantage when during the fight the referee speaks to you in English? Like, you know, he was trying to tell you to get your hands off the cage?
Você acha uma desvantagem quando o árbitro tenta falar em inglês com você para soltar a grade?
Nenhuma. Isso aí eu entendo, né? Isso aí a gente estuda, então eu entendo o que ele está falando ali, o que o corner do adversário está falando sempre. Isso aí, meu irmão, não tem como fugir. Eu sempre dou uma estudada e observo.
No way. I can understand the ref, and I try to understand the other guy's corner as well.
Tinha hora que o Kenny estava falando que eu estava metendo o dedo no olho dele, então ele conversava com o juiz, eu observava e jogava e a gente ia traduzindo na melhor maneira possível.
When Kenny told the ref about the eye poke, he tried to understand that as best as possible.
Hi, Dana. Again, Junior Grace Magazine. A lot of people, you know, would like to see that fight in Brazil, you know, Chael against Anderson. And I think, you know, the UFC plan a big, huge fight in a big stage in Brazil, like for 100,000 people. You don't think the Chael against Anderson could be the perfect fight in Brazil, you know, to the big stage, you know, the big UFC ever?
Yeah, I want to get Chael out of there alive, though. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But if it happened in Super Bowl, it would be in Vegas.
Question for Chael. You don't seem very pleased over your win against a very dangerous Ryan Stain. Is that because you're just kind of in the zone getting ready for Anderson Silva, or what do you attribute the
Well, if I'm not, maybe that's just a misread of my body language. I'm definitely happy. It's a big relief and a process to go through. Look, that's not the match I was after. I got plenty of money. I got plenty of fame. I'm after 12 pounds of gold. And as far as I'm concerned, that belt is worth nothing more than a piece of tin when it's around his waist. I am the true middleweight champion.
Question for Gray. Over here, you talked over here. You talked, in the last 10 months about the first round of the second fight, about how you went for the knockout and you may have exerted a little too much energy. The first round of this fight kind of went the same way. Did you try to hold back a little bit to try not to replicate the same mistakes in the second fight?
Yeah, I tried to pick my punches a little bit, slow it down, try to look for a shot. And again, he's just a tough kid. I don't know if he has a button that puts him out, So.
In hindsight, do you regret doing that?
No, I did hit him on a knee. I hit him on a right. I think I hit him on a hook, what else? If there was a bat there, I would have probably hit him with that too. But I didn't find one. Where do you keep the bats in the cage?
And for Frankie, what was going through your mind in that first round? I know there's obviously a lot going on, but were you thinking that this was unfolding very similar to the second fight?
Yeah, no, I was thinking like, damn, not again. He came at me. He hits hard. I was definitely out of it. But I knew obviously just from the previous fight, I was able to come back from that time. So there's no doubt in my mind that I couldn't come back this time around.
And Dana made a pretty bold statement before you got here, saying that he thinks.
How's that a bold statement?
Well,
that's the truth. Are we going to start debating again, Errol?
No, but the most famous.
Fedor's not the pound for pound best in the world, is he?
I think
you shouldn't be talking about pound for pounds there, buddy. Go ahead, tell him.
I think you've upset a lot of your Canadian fans because the most famous athlete to ever come out of Canada.
They can't deny it either.
Well, I'll tell him the statement, if you don't mind. He said that you're the number 2 pound for pound fighter in the world. Obviously, he thinks Anderson is number 1. That would mean that he puts you above George St. Pierre. What do you make of that statement?
Well, it's an honor. Anytime your boss thinks you're doing work and you're excelling at it, just to be in the same light as those guys is a big honor for me. But in all reality, it's opinion based. That's Dana's opinion. Your opinion might be different. This guy's opinion might be different. So for me, I still gotta get in there and fight.
Okay, and just one quick last one for Chael. Obviously, you say that you want to fight Anderson, but there are a lot of people who want to fight you, and Vitor Belfort has been very vocal about wanting to fight you. I'm wondering if you can comment on some of the things he said about you recently.
Well, I forgive Vitor. He's a fool. He knows not what he says. Can't hold a fool accountable because he got a little stupid in the media one time. Maybe you could give Vitor a couple of messages for me. First off, if my name comes out of his mouth again, I will bury him where he stands. And second off, tell Vitor to meet me at the hotel in 30 minutes because Daddy's got a plane to catch and I'm summoning him to carry my luggage.
Gray, now that the trilogy with Frankie is over, what do you see as your next move? Once you have time to obviously reflect on what happened tonight, what would you like to do next?
Just get back in the gym and train, improve on some stuff, just keep evolving. Start climbing the ladder again, That was my first loss. He hit me on the button, That doesn't ever happen to me, you know, even in the gym. I mean, you know, and he's a tough kid, but you know, I'm down, but I'm not out. I'm gonna climb the ladder. You know, I know it might take a while, but that's me. That's just who I am, you know, and I'm gonna show everybody that I can still do it. I got heart. I'm not gonna quit.
Dana, before this week, it was assumed that if Melvin was going to be victorious over Joe, he'd be next in line for the lightweight title. Where does this put Joe Lauzon after that performance in the lightweight picture? I mean, you're not really a fan of rankings or outside rankings. Where does this put him in your mind?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because, yeah, I agree. Melvin Gillard is one of those guys that everybody was talking about, when's this kid going to get a title shot? And he was a 3-1 underdog tonight. He pulled off the upset and won the fight. You know, we'll see. It was definitely a big night for Joe Lauzon in every way, shape, and form.
And Joe, for you, you've had 2 huge victories in the UFC. Jens Pulver in your debut and Gillard tonight. You know, how do they compare for you?
I think the Pulver fight is always going to be real special. You know, that was a huge. I think this fight I was like 3 or 4 to 1. Against Pulver, I was 7 to 1. You know, first UFC fight, first time fighting in a cage. It was crazy. So I think that'll always have like a special place. But this was up there too.
Hi, I have a question for José Aldo. Aldo, primeiro parabéns pela sua segunda defesa de título. E eu falei com o Chad Mendes ontem, ele falou que previu a sua vitória hoje e ele falou que adoraria te enfrentar. E eu queria saber o que você acha de como seria essa luta.
The question was, what does he think of a potential fight with Chad Mendes? She spoke with him yesterday, and he predicted that he would win tonight.
Isso não depende de mim, isso depende do time. Se colocar o Chad, eu não vejo problema nenhum. É um grande lutador, veio desde a época do WC. Então, eu acho ótimo. Eu tô aí para lutar sempre com os melhores. Quem nos colocaram, eu vou cair para dentro.
That's really not up to me. I think it's great. Chad's a great fighter, and I think he's ready for it. I think it's going to be great. I'm here to fight the best, whoever they put in front.
I have a question for Dana. You mentioned that Melvin Gillard was working toward the title shot. Since his loss tonight, who's next in line? Is it going to be Ben Henderson, Clay Guida, maybe Gilbert Melendez?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. We got to figure it out.
Hey, Frank, I got a question for you. What you can say about that, bro?
Hey, he was my hero, you know, a movie hero. That was my dude. I guess, you know, I kind of walking in the same footsteps.
Dana, can you talk a little bit about where this fight, the Jose Aldo leads, where he might be as far as eventually headlining a show instead of being the co-main event, and also what your initial reaction is as far as where Kenny's at following the loss?
Yeah, Jose was the co-main event tonight because whenever we have 2 titles, it's the guy who's the higher weight class. In no way, shape, or form was either one of these belts, you know, more important than the other. They're all the guys that are champions are just as important. It's just we put the higher weight guys in the main event. And I think Kenny Florian, and always have thought Kenny Florian is one of the most talented guys in the sport. He's you know, I think he's got to be the only guy that's gone from 85 to 70 to 55 to 45, you know, and done well at every weight division he's been at. He's very knowledgeable. He's very smart. He's talented. He's grown as a fighter. I mean, I don't want to get into the story. Kenny's tired of hearing it. I'm tired of telling it, how we met each other and how he got into the UFC and on the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. But if you look at where Kenny Florian came from when I saw him in that small show at a dog track in Massachusetts, and to where he is today, not just as a fighter, but as an ESPN analyst and everything that he's accomplished, you know, and don't take the things that I've said in the past about, you know, Kenny in title fights that I don't like Kenny Florian, because I like him very much and have a lot of respect for him.
Couple questions. First for Joe, when Chael had the choke going, what was going through your mind there?
I had never been such a big Brian Stan fan when he was going for the choke. Sorry, Joe.
Because you had kind of, had a number. You're near the top, aren't you, in bonuses?
I think I was tied with Anderson and Lytle, and then Lytle got 2, so he's got me by 1. But I'm gonna beat him in the end.
And then question for Frankie. Gray seemed to be landing an uppercut quite consistently on you early, and then he didn't get it in later. Did you make some adjustment to try to block that?
Yeah, my corner told me, I got to get my head off. I kept coming middle, in the middle of my head. So, I listened to them. They said make the adjustment, get my head off, and it seemed to work.
And then talking about, your boxing, I asked Dana this question earlier. It seems like, you have such good boxing. You move your head and shoulders, but then every fight you seem to get hit with a really big shot. And it's almost like you make a mistake. Is it something that happens in a fight, or is it, anything you can put your finger on why you're getting caught with that big shot in every fight?
Yeah, I don't know if it's every fight. It just happens to be the last 2 fights. And, maybe it has something to do with what Gray's doing. But, I don't plan it, believe me. If I can walk away unscathed, I'd rather do that. But, hey, it's exciting for you guys, so hey.
And I'll go back and say what I said when you asked me that question. The problem is that the guy weighs 145 pounds and he's fighting 155 pounds. And when you go in and you look at the tape and you look at the fight and look at the size difference between these two, and like you said, this guy hits hard. These guys at 55 are big, they're strong. But I'm not your father, I'm not your trainer. I'm just saying.
Well, Frank, when you watch the tape of the fight and hear what Dana just said, do you look at it and say, hey, there's points in different fights where my size works against me?
But, I'm sorry, he's won every fight at that weight except for, the Gray Maynard fight. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it is what it is. I got into the sport. When I first got into the sport, UFC didn't even have a 55-pound division. No one really had 45-pound divisions. In the local fights I was fighting, so I just fought at 55. I got in at 55, and here I am. I'm the champion. I don't, it's definitely a nice option to be able to go down and possibly fight at 45 in the future. But I'm comfortable right now. I'll definitely bounce some ideas off of Dana Lorenzo, see what they think. But I'm comfortable at 55. I'm the champion. I don't see any reason to go anywhere.
And then, Gray, last question for you. You didn't take many shots, if any, tonight. Did you have a problem with your knee at all? There was some talk that maybe your knee was bothering you. Was that a factor in not taking shots?
I didn't take any shots. No, he's a tough kid to take down. I feel good on my hands. I like to throw. He sweats a lot. He gets slippery. So I knew that if I did shoot, he'd be hard to hold on to, and I just felt good throwing. I think a lot of people don't know that I like to do that.
Dana, first question for you, and the next question is going to be for Frankie. You've already mentioned you speaking to Jerry Jones maybe about doing a venue up there. Obviously, Houston has proven to be quite beneficial for UFC. And we have a Reliance Stadium already out there, and all the seats have been certified, so you're not going to worry about turning people away because you got seats that hadn't been certified. So why not maybe go back and look at Reliant to come back to Houston? And Frankie, to you, the question, Tyson always says that everybody has a plan until they get hit. What plan did you revert to about 3 minutes into that first round that you were able to survive it and be able to come back out and win the fight?
Yeah, sometimes you get hit like that, you're on survival mode. I don't think you really have a plan. I just got I got fight in me, and that's what it is. You're going to hit me and rock me, I'm going to keep coming no matter what. I think for the biggest thing for me is I just listen to my corner. I really do think that they helped me make the adjustments I need to make so I can come back and win this fight.
And we'll be back to Houston. It's, going and doing, it's like all these prestigious arenas you go to around the world. We've been to Royal Albert Hall. We've been to the O2 Arena in London. We've been to, you name the arena, we've been there. And it's a big deal for us to go to Dallas, Texas Stadium, and put on a big event there. And, but it's in no way, shape, or form any diss to Houston, but we want to do Dallas too, and we want to do that big stadium.
Question for Dana. The first fight was Gray and Frankie. Gray clearly won. Second fight was a draw. Third one, obviously, Frankie clearly won. Is there a chance for a fourth fight between these two?
I mean, who knows what the future holds? I'm sure these two both want to put each other behind them for a while. The crazy thing was, and I forgot to talk about this earlier with this fight, the first round looked exactly like the first round of the second fight, and then going into the third round, it was somebody had to pull out the next 2 rounds, or this thing was going to be a draw again. If one of these guys didn't win the last 2 rounds, pretty crazy. It goes to show how it was just, after that first round, I was like, holy shit, did that just happen? But who knows? If so, it'll be a while. I mean, I think we've answered the questions here.
And for Frankie, you said, going into this, you were sick of talking about Gray. You were sick of thinking about this fight. Does finishing the way you did really put a kind of an exclamation point on this rivalry for you?
I just think it put some closure on it. Obviously, the last fight ended in a draw, so we didn't have a definitive winner. This one, I ended it with a bang, and it's good to go home and be done with it.
And last question for Frankie. You mentioned, obviously the division continued to move while you and Gray were waiting to fight this out. We know, Gilbert Melendez is out there. I mean, do you see that as maybe the fight you'd most want, just because it would kind of settle the question who is the #1 lightweight in the world?
Yeah, I'm down with anything, man. I'll fight anybody. But, Gil definitely, I think it makes a lot of sense. Not taking it from Clay and Ben, I think, they make a lot of sense too. Obviously, it's up to these guys. I'll fight whoever they want me to. But, me and Gil would definitely sell a lot of pay-per-views, I think.
Question for Jose. Jose, do you feel like that, how close do you feel like you are to having no more work in the 145-pound division? And we talked a little bit earlier with Kenny about how you would fare in 155. Is that something that does interest you?
Você acha que você está perto de não ter mais desafio na tua categoria? Está perto de querer subir?
Não sei. Isso aí eu deixo na mão do teammate, quem eles colocarem. Eu sempre vou estar lutando, e negócio de subir de categoria ou não, isso não depende de mim, depende dos meus treinadores, do meu manager. Assim que eles acharem o momento certo, eu vou subir. Senão, eu fico na minha categoria mesmo.
I really don't know. That's up to the UFC. I just want to keep on fighting. If I move up in weight, that's a decision for my coaches and the UFC. I'm just here to keep fighting.
Question for Nam. Okay. When Leonard started landing some solid shots in the third and you guys went to the judges, were you at all nervous that the outcome may be the same as the first fight?
Yeah, I thought I was going to lose. But it feels very good to get my first win in the UFC.
Hey, Dana?
Yep.
If you actually look at the scorecards, one of the judges actually did score the first round, 10-8 round. So going into the 4th round of Frankie and Gray, it actually was a draw on one card. In your mind, what would you have done if...
Killed myself. I would have killed myself, seriously. It just would have been, I mean, I hate draws. I hate them, And I'm sure it would have been just as horrible for these two, and.
Guys, what would have gone through your mind if you heard the fight is a draw?
Kind of what went through my mind last time. I would have been extremely disappointed. You go into these fights to win. Not a draw is pretty much the same thing as a loss.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. It would have been tough to deal with. This is tougher though.
Question for Dana and then a question for Frankie. You've kind of taken Frankie under your wing a little bit. You hooked him up with like a custom suit and told him, to paraphrase, to like take his image to the next level. Can you talk about his confidence?
How have I taken him under my wing? In what way?
I was saying you told Frankie to kind of take his game to the next level as far as like hooking him up with custom suits and changing his image. Can you talk about the buildup in his confidence over the last couple of years? And you mentioned he was #2 now in pound-for-pound ranking.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm a fight promoter. That's what I do. We promote fights, and we put on all the bells and whistles, and then these guys go in and fight. In no way, shape, or form have I taken Frankie under my wing or whatever. Everything that Frankie has, Frankie earned. He's a 145-pounder. I say it all the time. I say it to him, and this guy has beat everybody in the 155-pound division, including B.J. Penn twice, Ray Maynard twice. I mean, once. I apologize. The other one was a draw. But this everything that he has, Frankie Edgar has earned. I haven't done a thing for him. He's done it himself. And as far as calling him the #2 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, he is. period. He is the number 2. If you look at what pound for pound means, the only reason he's not number 1 is because Anderson Silva has never been beat in the UFC. He's been here since 2006, and he's had the title most of the time. It's amazing what he's accomplished. But if that wasn't the case, Frankie Edgar is the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world. He did that, not me.
And to Frankie also, it seems like you've kind of developed a little bit of swagger, I guess you would say, over the last couple of years. What do you attribute that to?
Nah, come on. I had swagger, for a while now. I don't want to say that, but you get the belt, you get more confidence. It comes with the territory, You get more attention from the media, you get more attention from the fans. It's just, it comes with the, with the belt and everything, and the responsibility of being a champion.
And just to add on to that too, think about guys. Think about all the fights that we've seen over the last 10 years, or how many fights you've seen through your life where a guy goes out and gets hurt as bad as he did in the first round. I told you, that's movie shit. That stuff doesn't really happen in real life. There's 2 guys I've seen do it, Arturo Gatti and Frankie Edgar. That's it. What he did the last time and this time, he's an amazing human being, he's an incredible athlete, and he's got a heart the size of this room, man. And that's no promoter bullshit. That's what he did. That's who he is. It has nothing to do with me. What?
It's a Jersey thing, man.
It's a Jersey thing. Well, it's a Jersey thing, He had Snooki and Situation out there. He couldn't let them down tonight.
I'm not stealing his song.
Dana, Frankie, and Gray. Dana, you sort of just touched on it momentarily ago, but this is a trilogy. There's been some great trilogies in combat sports for boxing as well as MMA, but this is a special one. I think we're going to look back 5 years from now and really look and say, wow, that was incredible. Can you 3 sort of sum it up in your own minds?
Lorenzo, when we went back into my room after the thing, Lorenzo said the same thing. Lorenzo was like, this is one of those fights that when you're watching HBO, Legendary Fights, or Legendary Nights, or whatever the hell that show is called, this is one of them. The trilogy of the fight with these guys, it's definitely, I agree with you 100%, and Lorenzo said the same thing tonight.
Got a question for Jose. You seem to be having some luck, or not luck, but seem to be doing well with leg kicks early on in the fight, and then you seem to back off. Is there a particular reason for that?
Por que você parou de chutar? Você estava fazendo tão bem no primeiro round, o que você fez você parar?
Nem eu sei, na verdade, né? Eu queria chutar mais, mas o Kenny começou a entrar em qualquer golpe que eu ia conectar nele, ele começou a entrar nas minhas pernas, então ali eu conversei com o meu treinador e queria segurar mais a parte do chute para tentar fintar e encaixar o golpe certo.
I don't even know. I wanted to keep kicking, but Kenny was trying to take me down constantly, and I thought the leg kicks would maybe allow him to do that. So I talked to my coaches in between the rounds, and we thought it might be better to not kick as much, but I would like to have kicked some more.
Question for Nam. If you can get into a little bit more detail about that fight, getting the revenge from the the controversial loss that you had to Leonard, and are you open for a third one because obviously the 2 fights were so good?
I felt like I won the first fight, and I did my best to try to finish this fight. But Leonard, all credit to Leonard, he's a real tough guy. That's why it's very difficult to finish. I'd like to put this rivalry between me and Leonard behind us. But if the UFC wants to make a third fight, I'm all for it.
Sorry, if I can just get Frankie and Gray to comment on the actual trilogy and what it means.
It was big. It's big. I mean, I can't speak for Gray, but for myself, it definitely I think promoted each other. When you have an adversary like that, it makes you bring the best out of yourself. So Gray definitely made me bring the best out of myself. Obviously, I have the first fight. He won over me, and then the next one was a draw. So I knew I closed the distance a little bit. I knew I had to make the gap even bigger this time around. So he forced me to be the best Frankie Edgar.
Yeah, again, I probably told you in a couple of interviews before, in 20 years, I'll be having a beer. I think it's cool. But, at the time it was, I just want to get to the next fight, October 8th. I got the loss. Now I want to get back in the gym, start training. you know, obviously it's awesome to be a part of it, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. But you know, I'm still in the moment, and I want to get back up there.
Frankie, I heard from somebody you don't like really taking much time off after this fight. Are they gonna have to lock you out of the gym, or are you gonna listen to your coaches?
You know, I'll listen to my coaches. I see my coaches back there say 2 weeks, so I guess 2 weeks is the limit, and I'll be back in there. But maybe I'll try to get in there a week and a half. We'll see.
Chael, was the challenge to Anderson Silva, did you already have your mind made up that you were going to do that, or maybe the chance of Silva following the fight, did that kind of fuel the fire?
No, I mean, it was spur of the moment. I saw him sitting in the crowd. You know, we've got unfinished business, and they're talking about somebody else coming in there. This is me and him, you know, and frankly, it's me then him. In some parallel universe, you can hit a man 300 times, he wraps his legs around your head for 8 seconds, and they call him the winner. On the streets of Westland, Oregon, that is not the rules. I am the middleweight champion. I defended my championship tonight for the first time, and I am willing to give Anderson a shot at the true belt, the linear belt, the people's belt, from the best damn middleweight there's ever been.
I'm not really sure how to follow that, but Dana, I have a question for you. The undercard guys aren't out there, but could you just talk about, you know, how the undercard guys set the fight for all these guys?
What's your question?
The undercard guys.
The undercard tonight?
Yeah, it was
great.
exciting.
No, it was a great card. Yeah, the whole card was a great card. This card had a lot of hype behind it, and you know, a lot of people were talking about this being one of the best cards of the year. And we've been on a streak here, man. We've been on a roll. The fights in New Orleans were awesome. The fights in Denver were awesome. I mean, we've been on a roll for a while now with great fights. People keep asking me, you know, you guys are doing so many fights. When have you saturated the market? And my answer to that always is never, when you're putting on great fights, and that's what we've been doing. And, you know, like I say all the time, we put on these shows, you know, we go in and do our things, put on all the bells and whistles. These guys come in and they deliver every time. It's what makes this sport so awesome.
Hi, Jose. Question for you. You from Manaus? I know you live in Rio de Janeiro. What means to you fight in your hometown? You know, I don't know if Dana, you make that fight happen to you. You know, the next fight in Brazil will be in Manaus. But what means to you, you know, fighting in your hometown, Manaus, in Brazil?
O que você acharia de lutar em Manaus?
Acho ótimo, acho o coração do mundo, então lutar em casa é sempre ótimo, né? Sempre estou lutando aqui contra a torcida, então sentir esse calor humano a meu favor vai ser ótimo. Para mim, se acontecer isso, é um sonho realizado.
I think it's great. Manaus is in the Amazon, the heart of the world, and I would feel honored to fight there. It's always good to fight in front of hometown fans, and I think it's great.
We'll take one more question. Anybody got a last question?
Yeah, for Frankie. Congrats on the win. Can you kind of just walk us through that finishing sequence? Did you kind of feel like you were finding your rhythm as far as hitting Gray? And just talk us through that sequence and what happened.
Yeah, after the first round, I felt the momentum was going my way. You know, I felt I had a good judge of his movement. I was able to, you know, score with that right hand on kind of a breakaway, and I seen it rocked him, and then I think it was uppercut first, and then, you know, right hand, and then kind of he went to a knee, and I was able to jump on him and finish.
And obviously he's been a thorn in your side for quite a while now. What kind of emotions went through you as, you know, the ref pulled you off him and you knew you kind of finally got him out of the way?
Yeah, it's a weight lifted off my shoulder. I mean, after every fight, you know, you're thinking about someone for that long, you know, it's a weight lifted off your shoulder. Obviously, it's that much more when, you know, I'm thinking about this guy for the last 10 months, and then he also has the win over me.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, you guys. And thank you, Houston.